Welcome, friends and my neighbors from this lovely neighborhood. While walking over here to present this little talk, I was reminded of a story. It was about a minister who was walking through the cemetery after conducting a burial service. And as he walked along, going toward his car, he saw a man draped around a tombstone, crying, bitterly crying. And he was saying, why did you have to die? Why would you leave me like this? You don't know what you've done to my heart. The pastor walked over and he said, may I help you some way, pray for you, console you in some way? I see you're in great distress. Could you tell me who's buried beneath that tombstone? The pastor was thinking it was probably a beloved child, maybe a cherished wife. The man stopped crying for a second, looked up and said, it's my wife's first husband. Now what we're going to talk about is things are not always what they seem, as the pastor found out. Most people think that being an entrepreneur, owning your own business, owning a group of houses, maybe apartment complex, some kind of entrepreneurship is obtained by simply going to college, then getting your degree. Once you're out, you become an entrepreneur. But that's not really what it is. That's not how it works. Not at all. In fact, we're going to look at an example of a man by the name of Henry J. Kaiser. And he was very successful and was a high school dropout, employed thousands of people at one time, and actually saved many American lives. Now, we're going to talk about what are the foundations for entrepreneurship. In other words, what have entrepreneurs had in common or have in common that you can do, that you may be able to assess, access, take part of, make it part of your life. We're going to look at the foundations of entrepreneurship, and then we're going to look at how it is that they look forward. What do they mean by looking forward? How staying ahead of the game, what does that mean for an entrepreneur? And then we're going to look at, is it possible to use your job, your company, your position to give back? In other words, can it be a platform? Can it be a platform to helping others? Can it help the people around you? We're going to look again, as I say, at Mr. Kaiser and see how he did that. Well, foundations, of course, are nothing but stepping stones. And these stepping stones must be very solid, must be strong. And what Henry J. Kaiser found, and what others have found, is that you must be a hard worker. That's one of the stepping stones to get you to own your own business, to become an entrepreneur, to become the boss. Secondly, you have got to look forward. You've got to see what trends are coming. How am I going to fit in with the changing world around me? And then you must always give back into society to the people around you, helping others. Helping others is extremely important. And then, believe it or not, you are now an entrepreneur of something very important, and we're going to look at that. Now, as I said, what are the foundations? What are the stepping stones? How do they get to those pinnacles of success? Hard work. Very hard work, the first thing. Now, looking at Henry J. Kaiser as an example, we're going to find out that he started out berry picking. Dropped out of high school, got a job berry picking. Oh, that doesn't sound too good. But pretty soon he said, no, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to manage my resources. I'm going to save 50% of everything that I make. And he did. And he worked for quite a while. Well, money, and then of course he had to have a godly attitude. He was raised in church, went to church, Presbyterian, and became a great giver to the church. Now there's something here we want to look at, and it's this forward-looking idea. Henry J. Kaiser was picking berries, and he said, wait a minute, there's got to be something better than this. And he looked, and sure enough, photography was the coming thing. Photography. So he said, I think that's going to be a big success. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go find a place where there's photography studios. And he did. He moved. Pulled up everything, went to a town. There he got a job as an apprentice. Worked there for a few years. Same foundation. Hard work. Taking care of resources. Saving his money. Now, he looked in the future, he could see that automobiles were going to be a big thing. And he said, well, now look, if there's going to be automobiles, they're going to need something to drive on. There must be roads, and those roads are actually the railroad of the future. So he said, I'm leaving photography, and he moved to another town, and there he got a job with a road construction company. And he was so efficient at it, he was no longer an apprentice after about 6 months. In fact, worked up to become a supervisor, but he always kept the same foundation. So worked hard, conserved resources, saved his money. In fact, he saved 50% of everything that he made. Now, this company went bankrupt. And he was so convincing that he went to the bankers and he said, look, let me show you. Roads are the new railroad. There's going to be large trucks. There's going to be cars driving all up and down. You've got to have roads to get to places. And he said, this company that I work for was mismanaged, but I know how to manage it. And I could show you where I've saved all my money. I have conserved resources that I've worked hard, and they said, you're right. And they loaned him the money, and he purchased that road construction company. He was just barely 30 years of age. He took that company using those same foundations that we talked about, stepping stones, and the company was a great success. Well, next thing he said, well, you know, my goodness, people are going to have steel for all the things that are being built. He bought a steel company. He called a big steel company, in fact. Sure enough, it was going bankrupt, stepped in. He went to the employees and said, here is how you become successful. The same foundation principles as an entrepreneur applies to the people that are working. Same idea, hard work, conserve resources, save your money, look to the future, prepare for the future. Well, one man quoted him as saying, and it's on the internet, called exist.com, and the quote Kaiser is saying about looking to the future, I always look to the stars. If I don't look to the stars, I'll never get there. I won't make it. And that was his philosophy, looking to the stars, thinking way outside the box, always looking forward. Now, he was so forward-looking that there was a crisis that occurred when he had purchased this shipbuilding company. And as he stayed on his bed one night, a dream came to him. And this dream just kind of came into his head, and he saw shipbuilding totally different than anything he had ever seen before, anything he knew about, anything that had ever been tried before. It was broken down into sections, and then these sections were put together to make a ship. It was called an assembly line. No one had ever heard of that. He said the dream was from God. And as soon as he woke up, he had dispatched to one of his associates. They went to Ford Motor Company. Henry J. Ford was in the process of running an assembly line. And they were putting these things together in little small pieces. Then they all came together as one big automobile. He took that idea, he's had a dream, he took that idea, put it to shipbuilding, and he changed the length of time to build a 10,000 ton ship from 393 days to 104 days. Now, why is that important? Because we were just now getting into World War II. We didn't have any cargo ships. These were called Liberty ships. They loaded up the tanks, they loaded up the vehicles, they loaded up all the cargo, the ammunition, the large guns. If it wasn't for those Liberty ships, many, many lives would have been lost. He had a dream. Now, do we have dreams today? Yes. In fact, I can tell you about one. I wanted to be a website author. In fact, I opened up a website, and I probably got 150 to 250 people reading my website over a great expanse of time. Something was wrong. And I also had a dream. It was a small dream, about 20 seconds of dream. And I got the idea. It came to me immediately. I changed the website. When I changed the website, I had over 10,000 people hitting the website, reading the website, looking at the website in just over 2 years, simply because of that dream. If you have a dream, it's possible. Like Henry J. Kaiser, follow the dream. Mine had to do with biblical scriptures. Yours may be something else. Now then, giving back. Oh my, did he give back. Whenever you're successful, you have to give back to the society, to the people. His mother was a Presbyterian. Father was raised Catholic, but when he married his mother, Presbyterian mother, who was a nurse, they sort of kicked him out of the Catholic Church. So his mother said to Henry, now listen, Henry, you've got to help people. I want you to help people. There's all kinds of problems in the world today, and the answer is people. Well, he found that answer by helping people in many ways. In one way, he hired over 250,000 employees, and he paid them exorbitant wages. In fact, many of the people around him said, don't pay your people that kind of money. What's wrong with you? You don't have to pay them that kind of money. But Robert J. Foster, in his book, Henry J. Kaiser, Builder of Modern America, said, or quoted him as saying, just a little bit for the little guy. That's what's going to make the difference. Well, he did that, and his mother said, listen now, what people need is health care. They need health care, all right? They've got to have health care. So he started Kaiser Permanente, the first medical institutionalized system of health care in America and probably in the world. Now, Robert Foster, as I said, is an example, Henry J. Kaiser, according to Robert Foster, in his book that I just mentioned, said that he is an example for every person. Every person. Well, that's true. That's absolutely true. Now, I said you're an entrepreneur, whether you want to be or not, and you are. You're an entrepreneur of your own soul. Your own soul. And if you apply the same principles, hard work, conserving resources, saving money, and helping others, those are the godly values that make you a successful entrepreneur of your own soul.